That's all you know, right? Like, oh, you know, God. Yeah, that's why. I'm speaking so good. Boston tickets. Boston. You don't even hardly do that. Seeing a free lawsuit. That's what Hollywood still on the MC. Assholes. Can you ask for it? Yeah, we go. Rule. Not so close. Sorry, bro. He ain't the place to have
Do. Okay, so do you notice how he said something when he started right at that very brief, less than half a second, this audio file was playing when the person on it was transferring from one word to another. Listen to this tape recorder for a second.
Trigger words, trigger objects, trigger colors, trigger symbols, etc. They have the organized stalkers engage in these mind games, street theater. Constantly to determine if the neuroprogramming the night before, etc. was effective. So the organized stalkers are basically, they're used for a number. Organized stalking is used for a number of different reasons. For surveillance, to keep the victim from defeating the technology. For example, if the victim was able to move into a dead zone, they have to flush the victim out. To discredit the victim for having a rational conversation with anyone about the fact that... Okay, I'm going to stop there at 36.
Okay, so here's the point I was trying to make. Right now, inside this little thing here, let me show you something. Let's see about here. I'm trying to claim that too many people can't be loitering out here, even though I've been given permission to be out here to charge my chargers. But right now, I don't know how well you can see it, because this is in a little pouch on my arm. But I got a running recording digital tape recorder in there right now. Here's the microphone to it, and then this is the tape recorder I was playing. Okay, so check this out. Now, I know the filing is going to seem a little bit funny. Nothing so listen carefully. I'm aware of a specific gang stalking victim who made a statement in the tape recorder in the very, 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 very recent past. Now, this particular victim stated that in their tape recorder that one of the main... Hold on 1 second, okay?
Have you seen him before? Huh? You were on lunch when I got here, and because I asked about you when I was getting cigarettes, and he was in Starbucks line right here right after I left it, and then when I came out here to do my stuff that you guys said was okay I do, he was already out here and he's been nonstop.
Gotta get rid of him. I know,
right? And swearing, saying the F word a lot.
Huh?
Swearing, saying the F word a lot, acting really hostile and stuff. So he's making me a little nervous, but I don't.
What did he think?
Well, just swearing and acting like, well, let me watch him. I don't think he's violent though. I think he's just like in his own mind.
So. Customers are already like complaining. That's why I had to come over here.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame him.
I'm gonna have to call the police. He's like,
You're gonna call the police on him?
No. The customers, they want me to call the police.
Oh, okay. On him? No. Can you wait a little while until I get packed up?
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna get packed up in about a half hour. Alright. So anyways, so I'm aware of a victim, okay, who So I'm aware of a gang stalking victim. Now, if I unpack my shit and get headed out, they'll probably have him fucking removed before I get everything finished. Why? Because this crime propped him up. And so go to Google and type in the police and gang stalking. Okay. Now I'm gonna pack up my shit though, because if the police are called, okay, I don't want them asking me why I'm standing here doing this. The police already know who the fuck I am. I'll absolutely Google the police and gang stalking. I'm one of the biggest police whistleblowers all over the internet. Okay. But anyway, so I'm not gonna expand on that anymore, but check this out. Let me finish my statement here. I'm aware of a victim of this crime who this morning, scratch that, who just recently made a statement in her tape recorder. Let me put my earphones back on. Who made a statement in their tape recorder talking about things that this victim has noticed in the past that this crime has done. So say if you're by yourself somewhere. Okay. But even though you're by yourself somewhere, you're still in an area where people can be propped up within earshot, within eyesight, within your field of view as well. So let's say if you got a victim who listens to a tape recorder, and then, so like if you watch a YouTube video, if you watch a movie, if you watch a TV show, you'll notice that when you're watching a TV show, there's always that little itty-bitty little small breaks between dialogue, okay? It can be anywhere from a half a second to a second, maybe even a second and a half. Now, when you look at how long that is when you're watching something like a movie or a TV show or listening to a YouTube video, it happens quite frequent, because when you're engaging in a storyline within a TV show or a movie, you don't want to have too many big breaks between, interactions with people, because you're literally sequentially showing a storyline. But there will be those brief seconds within a storyline where the people who are interacting within the story itself will have that brief 1/2 second, maybe even no longer than a second and a half, where nothing's being said, including possibly even no sound. So if you're a target of this crime, and if you're a target of this crime and you're trying to block out sound stimuli that's propped up around you by and through maybe listening to an audio file, so it becomes the dominant sound you hear that then tries to block out all the other sound props that they prop up around you, well, hold on. And so, if you're trying to block out any sound props that are propped up around you, okay, do you think that there's anything exposed on the internet concerning any way, any resource connected to this crime that would enable them to know when whatever a victim of gang stalking is auditorily processing? Consider this and consider this well. Google my following statements. We can Google all my statements, but especially Google the following. Check this out. Do you really think that it's an accident that when you research at Google and even YouTube the functions and features of remote neural monitoring, the fact that this technology is not only massively, widely reported to be directly connected to this crime, including on national radio shows it's been exposed on concerning this crime, that technology in of itself allows the satanic mass murdering whores who host this crime, it allows them to remotely neurally monitor the victim from a remote distance, auditorily and visually, meaning that when you have that tech used on you, they can see through your eyes and hear through your ears. So, what are two of the biggest motivations connected to this crime? Auditory and visual entrainment, which is why this crime props up things for victims to constantly hear and or see. And that's even self-evident when you research electronic synthetic dreams and neural monitoring. They're literally forcing the unconscious mind to hear and see shit. Oh, absolutely. So check this out. Now, to keep the entrainment going, they gotta prop up whatever the victim has been entrained to, and so then therefore you have associated stimuli to the entrainment. Words, phrases, sounds. Okay, and then visual props for the visual entrainment. Right? So the only way to stimulate the potentiated frequency output of the visual entrainment and the auditory entrainment pathways in neural networks is to prop up the associated stimuli to it. The word, phrase, or sound, auditory entrainment, and the visual props for the visual entrainment. The brain recognizes it. It then excites that entrained pathway, the potentiated frequency output from it to fire, and then remote neural monitoring latches onto it as a result of it being able to remotely neurally interface with the victim and identifies it when that stimuli causes the entrained pathway to fire as a result of the brain recognizing the stimuli. So if they can do that, if they can remotely neurally monitor you from a distance, they're already then monitoring what you're hearing and what you're seeing, even what you're smelling, even what you're tasting, even what you're thinking, subvocal speech monitoring. As a direct result, they're able to determine if you're listening to something to block out any and all sound stimuli that they prop up. Hold on a second. So, say if you are at a home and you're a target of this crime. Bear with me a second. So say if you're at home and you're a target of this crime, and that they have sensitized then a victim of this crime that's in their home to people yelling outside of their homes, like in the adjacent houses or apartments that are next to them. Let's say if they sensitize the victim to landscape noise. People also, or maybe to people mowing their lawn, the sound of the lawnmower. Just hear me out. So if they got those victims sensitized to specific things that are heard, nonstop, repeated, and yelled by their neighbors. Neighbors are some of the biggest participants in this crime. Google all my descriptions. Excuse me. Because think about this, all over America, in fact, even the ACLU has exposed this crime and the fact that, and the neighbors' connection to it. In fact, let me get out a flyer here that I printed out from the internet that was attached within a fellow victim's blog. Okay, give me a second, because I just ran across it actually yesterday when I was re-straightening out my backpack. So bear with me a second. Give me a second, baby. Okay, I got it. Now, oops. You all right? All right. So, now, I'm going to show you the flyer while I'm talking to you. So you can go to Google and you can type in at Google the ACLU. Just type in at Google ACLU flyer and things. So here it is right here. So what I'll do is I'll try and put it out here in a way to where you can maybe take a screenshot of it. I don't know how well you're seeing it. Let me walk over here real fast. So I don't know how well you're seeing it because over there was a lot of shade and over here is a lot of sun. But you can just basically type in like the heading of it, ACLU, warning, domestic terrorism, gang stalking. And then when you type that in at Google, you'll find a blog that's got this attached in it within the first few web pages that come out. Now this, I mean, look at it, it says it right there, organized stalking, gang stalking. It reports the main implicated host of this crime, psychological terrorism, by corrupt members of law enforcement agencies such as law enforcement intelligence units, LEIUs, the FBI, intelligence security contractors, and criminal informants. Okay, because the government is the only entity that can perpetrate this program against hundreds of thousands of Americans and then protect concerning every single thing that happens to any and all victims. So, and they're widely implicated in this, and so are neighbors. Okay, and then it goes on to expose a few of the many laws that are broken concerning this crime. So let me get back to what I was stating a second ago. Yeah. So, when you are an organized stalking, gang stalking victim, and you are at the level of targeting where they're intentionally perpetrating RNM, remote neural monitoring, what do you honestly think of a crime that is massively exposed to be a crime that uses that type of tech? Well, then if they're using that type of tech, do you honestly think they're not using the features and functions of it? Well, of course they am. Otherwise, why would they use it? And Consider this: psychotronics and all the other different types of demonic remote technologies that victims are reporting all over the internet in tens of thousands of posts, YouTube videos on every online platform that you can think of. They're all saying the same. The great majority of them are all saying the same thing. And the great majority of these people, tens of thousands of them, have never talked to each other, yet they're all sharing the same exact identical type of experiences through this program. Okay, so that in of itself should tell you what's going on. Okay, so check this out. Hey, Marina, did you call him? All right. So anyways, so check this out. Now here's the point. So say if you're a victim of this crime at that level, and so if you're a victim of this crime at that level concerning entrainment and how they got to excite what's entrained in order to neurally hack you in real time, because you gotta remember, human beings don't sit at the dining room table or on their couch or in their bed 24/7. Every human being is out and about in the community every single day practically, right? Even when you're at home, you can fall off the radar, because I'm going to tell you why. Check this out. Once they have locked on to an entrained pathway as a result of exciting the potentiated frequency output of it by propping up the stimuli, the brain recognizes it causes the frequency to fire, then they latch onto it. Check this out. You can still fall off of them neurally hacking you once they stimulate that entrained pathway's potentiated frequency output. And I'm going to tell you how. Do you see that guy right there walking with that cart? Okay, the one in the blue. Okay. Well, he's got groceries in his shopping cart. Now, when he walked into the store and looked and walked down every single aisle, he was having cognitive thinking processes about what to buy. Should I get barbecue sauce? Should I get mustard? Okay, hold on a second. Should I get barbecue sauce? Should I get mustard? Am I going to get pickles today? What kind of a lunch meat am I going to get today? And then he starts scoping out all the different brands and models and brands and prices. Now, and then when he goes to reach for them, look at one, sets it back, reaches for another one, takes it, put it in his cart. What he is doing is he is literally processing neural information, the thoughts, which is syntax. Syntax goes along neuronal processes and hops over synaptic gaps. This is causing other neuronal activity to fire. As a direct result, then other brain functions and the motor cortex associated behaviors of picking things up. Whenever your brain instructs your arms and hands to pick something up, I'm going to pick up this piece of cardboard, pick it up, look at it, put it back down, walk back over here to get my cigarettes, light one up, take a drink of my coffee. These are all motor cortex associated behaviors causing different neuronal activity to fire. That then in turn causes what? It causes you to fall off the entrained neural pathway they got locked onto, that they're locked onto. So that's why they got to continually prop up the stimuli. If you were so say if you go into this grocery store and you're in aisle 7 and you look at 4 different items, you take off 2 of those 4s off the shelf, you take a look at them, you read the price, you put them back on. That's a bunch of different motor cortex associated behaviors. That's a bunch of different thinking processes. That's causing you to fall off their radar if they had already locked onto you as a result of a stimuli being propped up before you enter that aisle and or grocery store itself. So they got to get you back on the entrained pathway. They do that by propping up the stimuli. The brain recognizes it. It excites the potentiated frequency output of that entrained pathway to fire. Remote neural monitoring latches onto it. Boom, they are neurally hacking you again. So do you have any idea then why when gang stalking victims who are all over the internet saying my neighbors are intentionally nonstop, okay, mowing their lawns back to back? Because when you hear lawn mowers nonstop all day long, since people are cutting their lawns around you, they're auditorily entraining the right hemisphere of the brain to those sounds of those lawn mowers. Same thing with landscaping noise. Same thing with ambulance sirens. Okay, police car sirens, fire truck sirens. All that's going on around you. That means they're creating auditory entrainment to the right hemisphere, because the right hemisphere is what is responsible for processing your environment, what's going on around you. And since this crime is directly connected to danger, you better be damn sure that every time something the victim recognizes as being intentionally propped up around them concerning this crime, the limbic system will also fire. That's responsible for self-preservation and fear. So they're creating entrainment to the limbic system, okay, to the right hemisphere, and even to disassociated states, because there's a lot of trauma, intentionally perpetrated trauma induced through this crime, through directed energy weapons, electromagnetic weapons, visual and imagery through R&M, a lot of harassing dialogue through these other sound texts that are reported to be connected to this crime. So trust me when I say these satanic rats know exactly what they're doing. Okay, because the whole entire crime is based on psychological operations in order to excite responses. So you see, when a particular victim made a statement in a, let's just say as an example, a tape recorder, and said, look, there's an extreme likelihood this victim is being R&M, because they have noticed on days when they're watching a movie or a YouTube video, on many days when they're watching a YouTube video and or a movie on their phone while they're by themselves in an environment where they're completely alone and no other people on the property that the victim is aware of. And then as they're watching the movie and or YouTube video, right during those brief seconds where the people who are talking within the movie and or YouTube video, right when there's those brief seconds when nothing is said, half a second, 1 second, no more than a second and a half, the person hears what they've been sensitized to. Because there is no sound coming out of that device at that time. So how can that be done on over 200 separate occasions? Logic and probabilities and statistical analysis automatically deduces, indisputably, you have a better chance at winning a multi-billion-dollar lottery 3 times in 7 days by playing the lottery randomly, meaning letting the computer pick random numbers. You literally, mathematically, have a more likelihood to win 3 multi-billion-dollar lotteries in 1 week, including buying through letting the computer pick random numbers, than you would with that being an accident. There are absolutes in math. There are absolutes in math. 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 2 = 4. Now, you can have absolutes through logic and probabilities and statistical analysis, because what you got to remember concerning this crime is that this crime engages in specific, unique, even bizarre behaviors that no other crime perpetrates. Okay? So when you're watching, let's say, 100 different YouTube videos, when you're watching 75 different movies, and this happens in each one, there is no way that that specific, very exacting, synchronized time propped up stimuli can happen in those 1/2 to 1 second to 1.5 second brief breaks in dialogue that is heard as you're watching the movie. So let me give you a fast example. Say if you're watching a movie somewhere and you're on a property where nobody should be at all for any reason at all, and you're completely by yourself, and you're watching a YouTube video, and then within the YouTube video you have a 1/2 second break between 2 people talking. And then right during that break, somebody says "gangsta" from a distance, or it's said through hollow sonics. Then it happens again. Then it happens 100 times. Just watching YouTube videos alone. Then it happens when you watch over 75 movies. Do you really believe that's an accident? So how would they be able to determine then that something like that was said during that extreme brief moment? How do you think that's possible? Because remote neuromonitoring has got the ability to see through your eyes and hear through your ears in real time. In real time. So there's no way that can be done unless they're able to see what the victim is seeing and or hear what the victim is hearing. If a person brought up a YouTube video that's 45 minutes long, all they gotta do, well, for one, they see what video you're watching. So all they gotta do is while you're watching that video, all they gotta do is fast forward it into the 20-minute mark and then watch it from there and say, okay, we're gonna mark down those brief seconds where nothing is said for that 1/2 second, 1 second, or maybe a second and a half. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna prop up somebody to be in the environment. And then we're going to signal them to say the word or phrase right at that time frame, right in that specific second. Because think to yourself, if you brought up a stopwatch on your phone and you pressed enter and you pressed go, when you press go on that stopwatch, look at how long it takes to say "gangsta." Not even a second. So I am aware of somebody who made these types of statements in their tape recorder in the extreme recent past and then caught that very same technique on that day. So who do you think I might be referring to? Right? Because that victim has got a tape recorder that records and they got a tape recorder that plays. sequential verbal statements. And there can always be that brief second and a half between the two people who are talking in the interview. Okay? You gotta remember, gang stalking wants you to hear what they need you to hear. And if you're listening to something while you're multitasking, you're falling off their radar. Multitasking causes you to fall off their radar, just like when you go into a grocery store and you're going through every aisle and you're thinking about what you're going to get, you're comparing items, you're looking at the cost, you're looking at your needs. That's all motor context associated behavior, that's all thinking processes causing you to fall off the neural train pathway that they got you locked onto. That's why gang stalking is massively going on in grocery stores. Because when you're in a grocery store, you're engaging in massive multitasking. Go to Google and type in at Google and YouTube, Brian 2 electronic harassment. His last name is spelled T-E-W. He clearly talks about stimuli and the fact that they force victims to see things and hear things. Visual and auditory entrainment. Okay? And so research the sensitization method of gang stalking, the direct conversation method of gang stalking, and dark neural linguistic programming in gang stalking. Okay? Absolutely. So, if you're in a grocery store and you're making all these different choices about what to get and where to go and how much to buy, and then all the motor cortex associated behaviors of taking each item and scanning it, or interacting with employees and cashiers, that's massive motor cortex associated behaviors, causing different neuron activity to fire, causing your brain to fall off the potentiated frequency output of the entrained pathway they got you locked on. So they got to re-prop up the stimuli. So if you're listening to a tape recorder where two people are talking together, even talking about this crime, but not saying the words and phrases you've been sensitized to, when there's that brief second, that brief half a second, that brief second and a half, when if they are aware, if they're able to determine that the fact that the victim is listening to the same audio file over 100 times, because each time the victim listened to it, the victim's audio cortex and their ears are being monitored. So they can see when that second break occurs within it. So as a result of the victim being hacked, tracked, and remotely hacked, okay, in real time, they can tell the victim is listening to it. So they just say, okay, this is where that audio file is at in its stream. There's a brief second break coming up. The person who got propped up around that victim, all we got to do is tell that person to say the word or phrase they've been sensitized to when what? When their phone vibrates in their pocket. So when that second interval comes up, that break comes up, the phone gets vibrated, the person says it. Boom. Because when you're sitting here and you're doing multitasking, and when you're listening to an audio file, boom. Okay? You're multitasking. So, think about what I'm saying, and then I'm going to conclude this video. Say if you're in an environment that's 15 miles away, 1 mile away, 3 miles away, okay? So you're at an environment 3 miles away, and you make these kind of statements in your tape recorder. Let's just say baby cake's at 7:30 in the morning. Okay? And then you leave that area where you made those types of statements as a result of past observation. So you verbally state them. Well, when you're wearing a tape recorder, sweethearts and munchkin butts, that tape recorder is starting at a specific time in reference to when the audio file started its recording. 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. You make those types of statements. You then leave that area. You go along your routes. You go to a grocery store or a restaurant or a movie theater. And then this is noticed as you're in the middle of multitasking, as you're in the middle of listening to a separate audio file, and then during those 1/2 second, 1 second, or 1.5 second breaks, boom, it's said. There is no way that's an accident, especially if it happens on the same day. Everybody have a great day. I hope you learned. You should also know that R&M runs on trillions of flops per second. So if something runs on trillions of flops per second and they're able to determine what the victim's hearing in their tape recorder pertaining to where they're at within the audio file, because the victim has been monitored all the 100 other times when the victim was listening to the same audio file, they know when those breaks are coming. Okay? So that gives them the time differential in order to vibrate the phone of the person that's propped up around the victim, so they are told to say what they're told to say in those brief seconds. Because think about what I'm saying. There is no way statistically that is an accident. Bring up a stopwatch on your phone, okay? And then press it to where it starts to count And look at how long it takes for you to say gang stalk or suck dick. Look at how long it takes. Look at how long it takes concerning the time length that it takes to say that and complete it. Okay? Then when you look at how long a time length is between two people who are being interviewed and that both stop talking for that brief half second to a second and a half, and then someone that's propped up directly around you says that word or phrase you've been sensitized to right in that extreme brief second. There's no fucking way that's an accident, especially after the victim talked about it. Welcome to truth. Welcome to the extreme time differential of remote neural monitoring. They're able to see what you're listening to, okay? And then it takes less than a nanosecond for them to cause the phone to vibrate. It's literally that simple. Okay? Literally, it's literally that simple. Okay, so as crazy as all this sounds and as bizarre as all of this sounds, this is the reality of this criminal reality. Because think about what I'm saying. If you make these types of exacting, specific, detailed statements in a tape recorder at 7 a.m. and then you leave that area and go to another location and it's 9:30, 10 o'clock and you're literally listening to an audio file and then it breaks for a half a second and then someone magically says, suck dick, which is what they say along your routes during that brief half second break when you just got them talking about it 3 hours before. There's no way that's an accident. Have a good day, everybody.